Good morning, everybody. We are going to have one last trading Bitcoin with Tyler and Tone on the same couch, which is good fun. I don't know if you guys caught the stream last night or yesterday. It depends on where you are in the world with Willie and Benzen, but it was incredible. I was there for 2.5 hours of it, but I think it kept going for another 2 hours, which it did. It was awesome. So without further ado, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, slacker. Couldn't hang in there the whole time yesterday.
Jeez.
Morning, Leah.
Oh my gosh. Good morning, partner. So you guys played a little poker yesterday and watched a poker movie?
Yeah, no, the heads up poker game was actually really good. We ended up playing that game for like 2 hours, and it wasn't even I thought the blinds were like reasonable. We did I think it was 150 in chips with $1, $2 blinds, and the game lasted several hours. Just as a heads up, it was a really good game.
So who's buying breakfast with the proceeds?
Yeah, Tone is he cleaned me out yesterday. I'm setting him up for Vegas.
You know what? There was one hand. There was one hand in the middle of the game. I was down about 25% of my chips. So it was like, so Tyler was up what, 200 to 100, and no, less than that, right? Because I was all in for like $75. Yeah, I think I was all in. Yeah, it was about for like $75 in chips, and it was a great hand. I flopped. I think I had top pair.
King Jack.
No, that's what. Yeah, well, whatever it was, I flopped top pair and Tyler flopped 2 pair, and we were all in, and I won on the river. I had top pair kings with a jack, and the jack came out of the river.
He had 3 outs. It was like a 9-10 percentage, and he got the jack on the final.
And we were both starting to get committed because like we were all in after the turn, and after the turn, I'm like, oh no, I need a jack to win. It's my only out, and the jack came out.
Oh my God. I will just say.
So that saved me, and then I ended up winning from there.
I just saw for the first time in the movie The Sting. I can't believe it was the first time, but you guys have seen it, right? With Robert Redford.
I told you to see that a long time ago. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Hands down became my favorite movie too, and shows how much sometimes I listen to the sage advice of yours, Tyler. Just kidding.
I haven't seen it yet, so let's not spoil it. All right, hey, we only got about 20-25 minutes, so let's get into it with straight up screen share. Into the charts. I woke up this morning and Tyler's like, "Hey, Bitcoin's down." I'm like, "Oh, damn, that's not good. That's not how I expected." I'm not prepared. I usually refresh the Unconfiscatable page. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what's going on with registrations. And while we're doing that, Phoenix this Saturday over at Blockforge office at 254 West Broadway Road in Mesa, Phoenix. I'll be landing around 3:30, and I'll probably head straight over that way. And see you guys at the meetup on Saturday in Phoenix. Please RSVP at meetup.com. I'm sure you guys are resourceful. You can find it. I really probably should tweet the link out. I'll do it today. All right. Unconfiscatable. Let's see what's going on with registrations. I don't know why it's loading so long. Yes, everyone's going to my website. Come on. All right, well, let's go to the price. Well, it's working on that. Here's the monthly chart, but the monthly chart doesn't reflect this morning's fall. Nothing has changed on a monthly chart. It still looks like it wants to go into what I'm referring to as the resistance cluster of death. And if it can't make it to the resistance cluster of death, then Bitcoin is in way more trouble than even I expected it to be. And that means it could fall even lower. There it is. Let's see what's going on. We're down to currently 7 open seats at the poker game. Looks like, I don't know what happened there. Did we lose somebody? Oh, Murad's picture didn't come in yet. Okay. And looks like a few people have registered. There it is. Last minute signups, guys. Great. So we still got room. 0.1 Bitcoin, not that much, and Bitcoin price is dropping. So go for it. Okay. Price. So here's this week's candle. And this week's candle, even yesterday, was looking pretty good. At the moment, it's not looking good. So tomorrow it can look good again. So today is today's Thursday, and we still have half a week to go, pretty much. So let's see how it ends. As you guys know, using the sequential system, you need green 2s above green 1s in order to potentially access bullish trades. You can see where my stop loss is on this. So before someone says it's crazy to have a $4,100 entry and a $3,600 stop loss, well, it's not crazy at all if you're buying 1 Bitcoin with no leverage, right? I mean, it's only crazy when you go 40, 50x leverage. It's really not that crazy because you're just using prior candle size, and the dollar values are irrelevant if you properly adjust for your risk and your leverage. So that's what I'm looking at. It's not a good candle. So I have about 12 hours to go in this candle, and let's see how it ends. But right now, you just got to wait for the week to end. Tyler, any thoughts on a weekly chart?
Only that we're now trading lower than the previous 2 closing weekly lows. It doesn't mean anything because we're not at
weekly closes.
I'm sorry, weekly closes. We're not at the end of the week yet, so anything can happen. And I still remain basically uninterested in the trade because I feel strongly where it's going eventually. So it's just a matter of when it gets there. I would love to see it take a pop up to the 5,000 region, but as I've been saying, I think there's a fairly formidable resistance at this $4,200 top. We now have 1, 2, I'd call it 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in which it's tried to get above that level and couldn't do it. That doesn't mean it won't, and it probably means if it does, it's going to do it in a fairly explosive way, which will quickly get to that 5,000 area. But I still have my doubts.
Yeah, basically we continue to consolidate right here. And like 4 weeks ago, I thought I was right that we're going to go to 5,000. Last week, the week after, not so much. You know, last week Tyler was starting to agree that we might go to 5, and then right now I'm starting to doubt that we're going to go to 5. Basically, we're consolidating, and the longer we consolidate, you see, with me, if you consolidate between 3,800 and 4,200, usually I can say, hey, this consolidation is a bad sign and we're going to break down. Or I can say, hey, this consolidation is a good sign and we're going to break out. This consolidation is a complete neutral sign, because this consolidation is taking place smack in the middle of the $3,000 low and the $5,000 potential target. So when you consolidate smack in the middle of that, it's hard to say if you're consolidating at the low or you're consolidating at the high, because you're not consolidating at the low because you've bounced off of 3,000. So this consolidation is completely neutral. It's normally you have a bias one way or the other, but not in this case.
I agree completely. If the longer moving averages up above that are coming down were much closer, then it would be very clear that the breakdown would be to the downside. But that's not the case. It's just empty air here, which is one reason I've been saying I'm kind of uninterested, because almost anything could happen. Flip a coin, but it's not going much higher than 5,000. And as soon as it gets down to those lows at 3,200, in fact, I would say I agree with Tone that if we drop down to the 3,600, I think it's over.
Yeah, and then we're gonna probably accelerate down very, very quickly. And we've now spent an insane amount of time very, very far below the 30-week moving average, and that doesn't happen very often. Like we're usually way closer to that average, and the moment we fall this far below, we always pull back to it. This is the first time we're not able to pull back to the 30-week moving average, and we could be stuck in this consolidation for a while. But as we continue to drop right here, maybe it wants to just go lower now. I got to see where GBTC opens. Maybe I'll just get out and save myself the trouble. Here's the daily chart. Now, the daily chart actually doesn't look that bad. The daily chart looks like it simply pulled back to its moving average. The CMF is not that great, but let's get rid of that. So here's the daily chart. The daily chart would have liked this pullback a little bit later when the moving average had rounded off, but that is the 50-day moving average. And we did break above that average, and we simply pulled back to that average. This is not the end of the world. Looking at the daily chart, it's not that bad yet. You can see the blue line in my daily chart. We are very, very close to it, but didn't hit it yet. Probably need to go under 3,700 in order for me to give up on this chart with the daily candles. So we're on the brink, but not there yet. So I am just going to be carefully watching. And if we close below that moving average and give us, and we start trading lower than that candle the following day, then that moving average rejected the price instead of now acting as support. But until I see it, I'm going to treat this moving average as having the ability to support the price.
That red count, that's a countdown 9 below the candle.
That is a red countdown 9. However, yeah, that is still a red countdown 9. That is legit. That is a legit red countdown 9. Now we would need, yeah, we can still get a red 13 because we would need a close below the 8 candle, and the 8 candle wasn't like up there, right? So it's totally doable. It's not the end of the world. Now, it sucks when you have a 13 to the downside that's higher than the 9 that made it, but that's possible. The latest sequential code, which I haven't had time to release yet, because I think we missed it last time, is the countdown is supposed to cancel if you have a close above the setup trend line, but we didn't have a close above the setup trend line.
Interesting.
So
wow, weird.
So we never closed above the setup trend line. So the countdown is still legitimate.
Very interesting. Yeah, I guess the more I look at this and think about it, the fact that we dropped from 6,000 to 3,200 in a straight line, I think is an enormous fact. The fact that the bounce from 3,200 is struggling a third of the way back up, I think is an important fact. I think both of those things suggest that this is much, much weaker down at these levels than we've seen in the past, which could mean to me one of two things. Either we get down a lot lower, a lot quicker, or this thing can drag on for a very long period of time, a lot longer than most people, including myself, believe. I just think this is showing a lot of weakness here.
All right, let's go through it fast. I want to glance at the futures in the S&P as well, and also see if there's any questions. So here's the 12-hour chart. The 12-hour chart is the one that looks terrible. So in the 12-hour chart, we did have a red 2 go below a red 1, and now we're sitting on a red 3, just broke a pair of moving averages. The 12-hour, we just can't bust through that area, 4,100. And but once again, if we reverse today and go back to about 4,000, we've just made yet another higher low, and now I can draw my triangle pretty much.
Right.
So, but if we go any lower and we start approaching these lows, then it's probably all over. So my 36 area is like the make or break area for this. If we go below 36, then I will probably throw my $5,000 target out the window, and it's sub 3,000. Here we come. This is the 4-hour chart. The good news on the 4-hour chart is that we are on a 7 of 9 with a potential 9 coming, and the moving average support right at 3,700. So we could hit that and bounce from there. Again, this chart is now looking very weak. The bullish flag that looked like it was breaking out completely failed. I didn't expect that, but hey, it's trading. Anything can happen. I didn't see it coming when I saw this breaking out on the 8th of January. I expected 4,500 easy or 4,300 easy. That was the target, but that clearly did not happen. And this breakdown candle fueled overnight did not look good. Hourly chart. This just happened. Wait, that's another 4-hour chart. Why do I have 2 4-hour charts? That should be a 1-hour chart. I'm curious what hour this occurred. So this occurred just as I was going to bed, I think, right? So it was 1 a.m. Eastern time. I think I went to bed right at that time. I think I went to bed right before 1 a.m. or like right after 1 a.m. But I wasn't looking at the price of Bitcoin. Just as I went to bed, 1 a.m. Eastern is when this thing kind of fell apart. Couldn't make it to a 9, but actually, yeah. So it's versus the 4 candle. So let's see if this happens to be a bad hour. We could get a 9 right here, right at setup trend. So you do have support. You have setup trend support right at 37.50. You also have a 9 coming up next candle. If like the next tick is down, then this would be an 8, and then in 37 minutes. So there could be some relief coming next hour or the hour after, and that could reverse the price back. But it's the odds are now with us here. It's definitely less than 50% that we have an imminent rebound, but I'm still hopeful, I guess. The leverage longs are starting to deleverage, which is good because it does set up for so it's one of these double-edged swords, right? So once the long leverage got really high, it was tricky for prices to keep rising. I thought they could have and then got longs even more before the slaughter, but it also makes sense. Leverage going down because bulls were over leveraged and now the price is dropping. GBTC, well, this one we have to wait for the GBTC to open, right? Because we don't know where it's going to open. So let's see, because we're doing it at market close. Ethereum probably took a big dive just like Bitcoin, and it does. Like, as long as these things are so perfectly correlated, I don't believe the bottom in the market is in. Here's the daily of Ethereum. I guess I looked at it recently when we were looking at it with Van Zen or Willie. I forgot who wanted to look at it. But wow, the daily Ethereum just stops on a 9 a few days ago, and down we go. So, and the weekly Ethereum, I'm sure, doesn't look great either. Yeah, so as long as the altcoins are leading the charge, I don't see the end to the I don't see the end to the bear market. Let's skip the Dow transports for now. I just want to look at ES. Hey, they're pulling up. So last night when we were going to bed, the S&P was at its lows, the S&P futures, and we both kind of agreed. I just said it out loud. I don't really care what the S&P does in the evening. It's all about where it is in the morning when you wake up around 8:30 a.m. And it looks like they're pulling back up. So the market could open and go slightly up, which we have to just wait and watch. That's pretty much, yeah.
I mean, just to note, for if we're talking US and S&P, just an FYI, in 7 minutes, that's where today's like big econ thing is initial jobless claims are coming out.
I thought they were all on vacation.
No, and it's you're talking about the shutdown. It's like the biggest list. Tyler's gonna love this one of Fed Reserve speakers, and should be pretty epic just of like who's speaking. But then also CPI is tomorrow. But CPI excluding food and energy, and people are expecting it to come in at like 2.2%, which obviously means that the Fed could remain a little bit more flexible and patient about the pace of rate moves. So those are two of the things coming in.
Wait, so who's speaking? Who's on the Fed speaking list today?
Oh man, it's Powell. It's like every regional Fed governor. It's like everybody.
What's today's date? January 10th?
Yes. So your question regarding Bitcoin is long versus short. FYI.
Yeah, what's the question?
To look at long versus shorts. Longs versus shorts.
Oh, I thought I did.
Oops.
I mean, here are your longs, here are your shorts. This is Bitfinex data. And like, it looks very similar to what happened, back in on December 17th. And if I go back to the ratio chart and we go over to December 17th, that's right here, right? So this is where the longs were really high and the shorts not so much. And we were starting to go up right here, and then we pulled back a little bit. Then we consolidated as the longs versus shorts really went high. So basically, yeah, so the shorts have deleveraged, the longs went leveraged again. Now the longs are deleveraging, right? So, but the price of Bitcoin has remained steady this whole time. What does it all mean? It's hard to say, but I thought that the longs could get into a little more trouble by being even more over leveraged.
I think it reduces the possibility of a short squeeze.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Because well, with the shorts so low, right, the short squeeze is very unlikely, and I guess there was enough longs that there was nobody left to buy at this point, and now we're going down a bit. It's the data isn't overwhelming in one direction or another, so it's not that big a difference. All right, what else we got?
Yeah, so you got a tip. Any thoughts on these BART moves, and would a lot of volume help prevent these in the future?
Oh yeah, of course. So I expected these insane moves to kind of die down with the liquid side chain and exchanges sharing liquidity, but I haven't really seen it. So all this talk about the liquid side chain eliminating some crypto volatility, I mean, it'll be hard to prove or disprove that it's happened unless you have, knowledge of what's happening internally, and it looks like we don't, because there is enough privacy inside the liquid side chain that you don't really know what's going on. And so no, not yet. I mean, what can reduce this volatility is a single pool of Bitcoin, and all of these exchanges are not exchanges, they're brokers. I mean, look, you don't need 18 different exchanges, you just need one. You need one efficient exchange with dozens of brokers for your choice. People are like, oh, you're against free market, you're against choice. No, having 18 different exchanges where the liquidity of Apple stock is split between 18 different exchanges, Apple stock is going to do the same thing. The reason why the traditional stock market is significantly more efficient is because Fidelity is not an exchange. Fidelity is a broker. Interactive Brokers is not an exchange, it's a broker. Where is Apple stock sitting? On the NASDAQ, right? There's one exchange holding Apple stock. They collect a little tiny fee every time you buy your Apple stock through Fidelity, through Interactive Brokers, through Options Express, through E-Trade, through Ameritrade, through Charles Schwab. I can name them all day. That's your competition. Your competition is who's going to get that stock for you in the most efficient way possible, in the cheapest way possible, or whatever, right? But all of the stock is sitting in one place, so that the liquidity of the stock is not a factor, and the liquidity of Bitcoin per exchange is a factor, and that's not competition. That's not good news. That's inefficiency in price discovery. That's not like, oh, you're against competition. No, I'm for efficiency. Now, in the case of Bitcoin, that efficiency could come in with some potential dangers on the regulatory side and Bitcoin confiscation side, but that's a different argument, right? Like, what's best for efficiency? One exchange with 100 brokers for you to access that exchange. That's efficiency. I thought Liquid can do that in a decentralized way. I have not seen its effects, but also maybe this could have been 100 times worse if it wasn't for Liquid, so we'll never know.
Tyler, thoughts?
Only that I completely agree with all of that. It's very difficult to get an efficient, effective price discovery mechanism if you're not regulated. If you are regulated, it becomes very easy. and it gets down to having one major exchange. When you go back far enough, you actually had people that were specialists, and they would have a stock or a group of 3 or 4 stocks, and they were held accountable to make sure that those stocks were efficiently distributed. And if they weren't, they would step in and either buy or sell to make it efficient. The problem in cryptocurrency with the exchanges is they're not regulated, and therefore they can do, I'm not saying they do, I'm saying they can do anything they want at any time, including shutting down in the middle of trading for hours and hours and hours for X, Y, or Z reason, and making it difficult to put money in and money out. But most importantly, not having to be transparent so that anyone on the outside can tell what's really happening with the price. Is the exchange itself involved in making money or helping other people make money against your interests? So everything Tone said, I agree with. Until all that gets cleaned up, we're going lower because people have no confidence in the infrastructure.
Yeah, Tyler, and that's a good point. Right. So I'm okay. Like if you want multiple exchanges in crypto, sure, you can have one exchange for Bitcoin, one exchange for Monero, one exchange for like an exchange per crypto, but then, whoever draws the short stick, which is basically non-Bitcoin exchange, they're not going to last very long, right? Because they're going to go away.
Nice.
So that's the only other way of doing it. But you need to make sure all the liquidity is there. That's efficiency. Is that safe? Is that good for Bitcoin long term? Probably not. But if you want to avoid these kinds of shocks, there's another way to avoid this kind of shock. A $50,000 or $100,000 Bitcoin would make it hard to move the market because now you'll need a lot of money.
Interesting. So someone gave you a tip on oil. So I'm very excited. And to be obnoxious with FA news, if anyone was following, this was obviously immediately after what happened in OPEC, specifically what happened with Saudi. And to throw in a little bit more FA, what's interesting is that a lot of smaller firms, not small at all, but AP Corp is like massively actually throwing money into diversifying investments and just into projects and plans and financing everything. So they're throwing more money into everything. And outside.
Is there a question there or just the comment?
WTI.
Okay.
The question is, look at it.
Well, yeah, we broke 52 and WTI is staying up there. That's the weekly chart. I thought it would struggle to break 50. Clearly, it busted right through it. And now you just got that's a lot of open air. Now that it's broken 50, it is very likely to go to 60. But I still think a serious bear trend in oil has begun. And over the next couple of years, we're going to see a historic low price of oil.
Using Consensio, just looking at this chart, basically you should be completely out of it. Although you do have price now above the short-term moving average, which is moving up. But other than that, what you're doing is you're playing a counter trend bounce in a bear market. And you can make a lot of money doing that. I don't like doing that. I like in a bear market to sell pops. And in a bull market, I like to buy dips. And this is clearly a bear market. So I would be looking, if you are still in, at places to get out as opposed to looking for places to put money in. Now it's still early in the turn from down to up. And so I agree with Tone, it's probably got a ways to go. But what you're doing is you're playing against the house. The house is the bear market and they've got the odds. So play your cards as you like.
Second part of the tip was Twitter.
Oh, like the Twitter stock?
Mm-hmm.
I have it on my list, so this one will be quick. Probably be our last one, our last chart we'll look at. Whoa, why is Twitter $32? Oh, I didn't even realize Twitter topped on a 9. This is the weekly chart. And I think Twitter has the beginnings of another bear run. I don't like it here.
It's a head and shoulders too.
Yeah, I mean,
if it breaks down from here, it's going to new lows.
I mean, I really think the only reason why Twitter didn't go to like $5 and get bought out is because of Trump and the election. And like he basically won the election and continues to tweet, and Twitter is becoming a little more popular again. But yeah, right here, I don't like this at all. Twitter is in a pretty big bear trend. We have not been able to break. That's now what? 1, 2, 3 lower monster swing highs. This is a huge head and shoulders as well. Now you're below all of the moving average lines. They're crossing down. I think Twitter's in trouble.
So,
Yep, I agree.
Regarding the pop, just news that came out yesterday was JP Morgan Chase picked it as their top pick for 2019. And after that, Bank of America Merrill Lynch double upgraded it. So a lot of analysts.
I'm even more bearish now.
What?
I'm even more bearish now.
Yeah, those are the last nails in the coffin.
Yeah, when you hear that, it's not good. I remember the huge report from when the moment oil fell below $30, like $28 on that last oil swing, and there was this giant report from Goldman Sachs how Goldman sees oil below 25,
Right.
and I was calling for oil at 25 as it was falling below 50, and I saw those Goldman reports. I'm like, oh man, now I'm going to be wrong, and and that's exactly what happened. It immediately turned around. So I mean, like when you see these big companies make these kinds of giant statements, they're usually very, very wrong. Like if I open a chart of oil again, like if you go back to this last oil, that I remember that. I think I was already doing videos. We had just started doing videos on the World Crypto Network. I should be on a weekly chart. We had just started doing videos and the World Crypto Network doing oil stuff. And I was like really, really bearish right here. And then oil jumps just below 30. And like this looked like it was just going to keep going down. And then Goldman comes out with these reports how oil is going to go to either $20 or $25. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not good. They're not going to be right publicly. They're probably doing that because they want to get into oil.
Yeah, that's the good point. Remember what we've been saying over and over again for a year. When you hear public statements, you've got to think very carefully about where they're coming from. Goldman doesn't say anything. Merrill Lynch doesn't say anything. A person says something at Goldman or at Merrill Lynch, and that person very often is talking their book. In other words, if they're saying that Twitter looks like the best thing since sliced bread, it probably means they've got a lot of it and they'd like to get out of it, and they would like you to take it off their hands.
Right. So here it is. Here's the headline. November 23rd, 2015, Goldman Sachs and OPEC, oil prices could crater to around $20 per barrel, right? So here's Goldman Sachs announcing, and there were other articles. I just grabbed the most random one. And this came out as Business Insider, right? And so here it is, November 23rd. Goldman is calling for $20 oil price, and I remember this very well because I was on that trade also until I saw this headline. And if we go to oil, where the hell is it? If we go to oil, here is January 16th. So here is December. So here's November. So it was happening again, right? So here it is, and that was in late November. Oil was 34. They called for 20. I remember other headlines right here, just in like early 2016. They were calling for 20, sub $20 oil prices, and then we went all the way to like 80, right? So so I remember seeing those. That's a little earlier than I remember it. I do remember it in 2016, not 2015. But yeah. So, and they always look right for a little while.
Yeah.
They look right for a little while as they probably continue to dump this stuff, but they're trying to, but they know it's never going to hit their target. So you can see all these headlines right here. Yeah, so the headlines did come out in late 2015. They were right for a little bit, and then it clearly never got to 20. It reversed from 28. All right, guys, I think that's it for us. I think that's it for us. We gotta go. And once again, hey guys, check out Unconfiscatable. Any closing thoughts, Tyler?
No, Lee and I have got a couple of seats still at Unconfiscatable for our hyperwave show, and with Bitcoin down this low, you can get in very inexpensively. It will fill up before 2 weeks are up. So please, if you're thinking about it, go ahead and do it. We'll love to see you there.
Cool, and there it is. Just click on Tyler's picture. It'll take you over to Lucid Investment Strategies website, and you can register for their workshop. You can also register for my workshop or Jimmy Song's workshops by clicking on those workshops. So thank you very much, guys. We're closing out with 1,500 viewers, and see you all maybe even later today. I gotta see what's going on. Just woke up, so we'll see how it goes.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thanks, Leah.
Thanks.